Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my Monday Mobility. I'm Coach Janine at Whole Body Health. And today we're going to go through another, what I call a flow series, using some yoga moves, using some of my favorite moves to kind of open up the body, get it moving, whether it's just to start your day or before you get into a warm-up for your workout. It's a great way to just start moving, see what else needs to be stretched, see what's tight. Just notice how you're feeling. Now, we aren't aware enough of how our body is moving and how our body feels. A lot of times we move through the day, not even thinking about maybe a tightness in our Achilles. Maybe that tightness goes away, maybe it doesn't, but we don't really think about it. Maybe we notice it and then it's a fleeting moment and it's gone. And then later on we have an issue with our knee or we have an issue with our hip and we're like, God, what happened all of a sudden? Nope, your body was trying to tell you something by that tight Achilles or that tight ankle, limited ankle range of motion. We just didn't listen. So awareness, whatever you're doing, whether you're stretching with me, stretching on your own, warming up your body before a workout, doing the workout itself, it all comes down to awareness. Try not to mindlessly go through things. A lot of us put on our headphones. This is my soapbox, guys. Sorry, I'll start in a minute. This is kind of a pet peeve of mine, so I had to address it today. We put on our headphones when we do a workout and we just kind of go through the motions and because we know what we're doing. We've done these moves a million times, but we're not really thinking about how we're moving. Even though we've done them a million times, they don't always feel the same. Just because you do a move one week, the next week it may feel completely different and you're not going to notice those changes because it could be subtle unless you're paying attention. You're not going to hear your body talking to you unless you pay attention to how it's moving. So I'm not saying you can't wear your headphones because we all like to listen to music or in some cases talk on the phone while we work out. I don't advise that, by the way. But some people do. Whatever, teach their own. You do you. But if you are going to do that, you still need to be paying attention to how your body's moving, how it feels. All right, so that's my soapbox today. Let's go and get started with our mobility. Let's try to keep it to 10 minutes. I do have, if you guys read the little notes, I do have a special little tidbit of information I want to give you today. It's a variation of the quad stretch. That is an amazing stretch, kind of intense, but I'll show you a way to kind of back off that intensity. It's a really great stretch, but you have to stay on till the end, or you'll have to fast forward after the live video to see the stretch itself. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start on all fours in the spirit of thinking about how we feel. We're just going to start with some cat-cow, just noticing how things are moving, noticing where the tension is being held. Are we able to push through the back? Are we able to open up from the front? Are we able to get full breaths? I did a workout last week that I was unable to take a full breath the day after. Every time I take a big breath, I felt locked down in my back. So those are all good signs that you need to work on some mobility and some loosening some areas up. And if you're not listening, you're not going to know what to do. Let's do one more. Notice if there's tension in the low back when you do that. Is that low back locked down? A little bit of rocking here. Okay, let's just go ahead and come back into kind of a reclined position. Now, for some people, you might be sitting directly on those heels. For other people, you could drop your bottom down to the ground. Other people, you might want to put something underneath. If you have a yoga block, you can do that. A couple tall books, something to elevate you, depending on how intense you want to do this stretch. So here, I'm just pushing up, using my butt, so squeezing the glute muscles, and then I'm going to come back down. So I'm stretching the entire front of the body. If this is aggravating your knees, there could be a couple things going on, one of which the front of your leg might be tight. So you might actually need this a little bit more, okay? For me, I got a lot in the front of my arms, front of my shoulders, bicep area. Not a whole lot in front of the hip in this movement. Now, if you wanted to, you could take this a step further and come both feet out, tabletop position, and coming up to here, okay, coming up and down in this position. You can also go all the way out here and come up. Okay, lots of different variations. Almost every exercise, every movement has a variation to make it either easier or harder. Okay, from there, let's go ahead and go, let's go plank position, trying to find a good viewing site here. Plank position here, let's hold for a moment. Couple breaths, just noticing how everything feels. And then push back to down dog. Whew. Noticing my calves are a little tight, ankles are a little stiff today. I notice when I wear hiking boots, I definitely get more stiffness in my ankles. And that, I'm guessing, is because it's when you wear stiff boots that limit your range of motion, it is going to affect the way your leg moves. So every time I wear stiffer boots, I get limited range of motion in my ankle, which then makes it a little stiffer and a little more tension in my calves. Holding here a little longer, pedaling out those heels. Drop it down to the knees, just stretch it out for a second. Noticing how the back feels. I'm going to shift positions. Now in this position, you can either get right on top of your knees if you have some good hip mobility, or you can open up those knees and sink down. It's up to you. In this position here, you're going to get a little more stretch to those inner thighs, which most people need, right? Most people are tighter in the inner thighs than they realize. In fact, let's go from this position here, come up on all fours again, extend that leg out. And let's just do a quick little inner thigh, kind of a check. You might need to address more of this later. Okay. Just nice and gentle. Go ahead and bring that foot up for a different variation. And let's go and go to the other side. Toe down first, hips back. I'm just going to show you from a different angle here. Just sitting my hips back. Toe up now. Okay, back to all fours. Let's go ahead and take it all the way down to the ground. Arms are out to the sides. Hopefully you can still see me on the video. Notice the camera's a little high. Okay, from here, for those of you with a big chest, you'll have to lift up a little bit before you transfer. We're gonna lift left leg and transfer over. Making sure you're breathing. Big breath here, release. One more big breath, come back to the center, and then we're gonna go the other side. Lift and rotate over. I'm noticing one side is harder than the other. And back to the middle. We're going to do the same thing again. Lift and rotate over. Might feel a little bit in the front of the shoulder that's on the ground here. You might feel on your back. And back to start. And the other side again. This is my tighter side, both in the front of the shoulder and in the back. So I'll want to address that a little more later before I work out. And then back to center. Okay, we're going to put those hands back underneath us. Put them down just below your chest. And we're going to go ahead and push through the ground, nice and long. Big stretch to the front of the body. I like to shift the weight side to side, make the neck nice and long so we don't want to be turtleneck. Push up. Okay, and then release it slow back down. Let's do one more of those. Push up. Okay, from here, let's tuck those toes underneath. Come all the way into that plank position. Hold there. Make sure those elbow creases are forward. So make sure you don't have bent elbows like this. There's my bent elbows. There's my straight arms. Holding there. And go ahead and push back to down dog. So pedaling out those heels one at a time. Pushing through the floor with the hands as well as the feet. So you're getting a good upper body stretch as well. I'm going to move forward just a little bit. Okay. From here, we're going to lift the right leg in the air and cross it over. Nice little rotation here. Look underneath that armpit. And then you're going to swing it through into the lunge position. Now, I'm not worried how much you rotate on that rotation. Any rotation is good. You'll get there as far as more rotation. Maybe you won't. I mean, If you only do it once a week or you only do it once a month, you probably won't get there. But if you're doing it every day, you'll gain more range of motion. Noticing what this feels like here. I'm just kind of inching around. Notice some tightness on my inner thighs. That was the workout Saturday. Okay, and we're going to put that leg back. And we're going to go back to downward dog. Pedal out the heels again. A couple times on each side. Raise up that left leg and open it up. Woo, there's my tighter hip. Looking underneath my armpit. Big breaths. And swinging it through into that lunge position. And then working that position here. Circles. Noticing what's going on this side. For me, inner thighs still a little tight, but not quite as tight as that other side. And putting that leg back to downward dog. Pedal out, both heels this time. Bend the knees. I'll do this from the side. Bend the knees. Still pushing those heels towards the floor. And then straighten the knees. Bend and straighten. Ears should be between the biceps, so I'm pushing through the floor also with my hands. And then straighten. One more time, we're going to lift the right leg into the air. I'll show you from this angle here. Let's cross it over and look underneath. And swinging it through to the lunge. Ooh, and I just noticed I've got some tightness in the front of my left hip. Oh, it just let go. It just needed to pop, needed a good release. Doing a little rotating to the outside. All right, and both hands on the floor. Going to return that foot back. Push back to downward dog. Both heels to the floor. Bend those knees. Straighten. Bend. And straighten. I'm also noticing the front of my left shin is a little cranky. A little sore from hiking. Okay, left leg up. Cross it over, look underneath. And swing it on through. Whoops, now it didn't make it very far. And checking out how everything feels. A little rotation here. Okay, and then pushing back to downward dog. One more time. Pedal out those heels. A couple times each. Go and drop those knees to the ground and come on down again. A little bit of side to side. Okay, that completes our 10-minute mobility for today. If you have to move on with your day, enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy your week, make it a great one. If you're staying with me for the little bonus I have for you, you can either join me in the stretch or you can watch the stretch. You will need a band or a yoga strap. You can also do this with a yoga strap. I prefer the band because I like the stretch on the band. This is just a big, I believe it's called a monster band. I think there's a couple different names for it. A large loop band, whatever you want to call it. If you have one, hurry up, go grab it now. You will also need something to elevate your foot or your knee. Actually, you don't need this. I will show you two different variations. So I'm going to show you on the floor and on the bench. The bench is going to be a little bit easier of a variation. So if you have something to elevate your knee, great, soft surface, grab a pad or a mat because you will probably want that for your knee, at least when you're on the floor, depending on what kind of surface you have to raise your leg up. So I'm going to grab my mat because I don't have my mat down here. And well, you're grabbing your mat. I think my camera is a little, I guess it'll be okay. All right, so I've got my mat here. I've got my band. So I can find a good angle. So most of you, I think, are familiar with the couch stretch. So the couch stretch is a great quad stretch. And one of the reasons being is because we get a flexion at the knee because this back leg is elevated, right? So there's your flexion. And then you have an extension at the hip, meaning we get upright with the hip or we open the hip all the way. For a lot of people, that is a super difficult position to get into because most of us are really tight across the front of the leg and we can't get good extension of the hip, because you would have to come up, that's where we talk about tucking the pelvis and coming up really tall. You get that full extension here. So I'm going to show you another way that we can get full extension that doesn't require you to come all the way up tall, and then also brings in the flexion, the bent knee, and adds that extra stretch for the quad as well. So starting first for extension, we're going to go in baby steps here. I'm hopefully not going to do too long here because I know it gets long. So pushing forward here, I've got full extension. I'm fully open at the knee. I've got flexion over here, but I'm not worried about this left side. Only worried about the right. Try to change angles as I go here. So I'm fully open at the hip. There's number one, right? Number one position. Can I get extension of that hip? So now if I bend forward here, I'm in that nice straight line all the way down. That might be enough for some of you to stretch out the front of that leg in front of the hip. You're welcome to stay there if that is enough. If you'd like to take it to the next level, you grab your band and you link it. Oops, if I can get my leg under there. Link it underneath. You want to put it around where the shoelaces are. Okay, so right onto where the shoelaces are. Let's see if I can show. Yeah, make sure that's right because it's going to slide off if I don't. You can do this with bare feet, but the band kind of pinches the top of the foot a little bit. One of the reasons I wear shoes today. Okay, so I'm going to get back in my position. Most stable position. If your front foot is in alignment with your knee, you're going to be very unstable. This is going to be very difficult. Spread it out a little bit, okay? So I'm going to look straight ahead. I'll turn angle so you guys can see this. I'm going to pull the band up. The tighter you pull it, the more intense the stretch is going to be. For some of you, this might be enough. This is a great stretch, and you probably don't need to go much further. Although, with that being said, you are missing out on that extension of the hip, the full opening of the hip. From there, we want to push forward to open the hip. And that immediately made it more intense. Making sure to breathe. You can play with your body position here. You can play with the stretch on the band or the yoga strap, whatever you're using. Trying to keep the hip bones down. So if you're really tight, it might want to rotate out. You don't want it to rotate out. We want to try to keep it in alignment. Pull this up. Flatten out the back. Woo! And that's a great stretch there. I'm just going to change the angle so you guys can see from a different angle. Okay. So I've got some space. I'm going to fall over. Between my knee in the front and my knee in the back. Hip bones are pointing forward. Good stretch on the band. Driving forward. Trying to open that hip as much as possible. Okay, you can release the band back there. So I'm going from using a lot of pull on the band to less. Okay, so it's going to mimic a little more of that couch stretch. So why would you do this over the couch stretch? Well, one big reason is you can regulate the flexion in your knee. So when you're on a couch stretch, it's a little bit harder to regulate. You can move further from the wall or closer to the wall to regulate that, but it's a little bit more difficult. When you have the foot hooked around the band, you can either pull it closer to the body or you can release it and let it go further from the body. So it's a great way to kind of regulate that. I'm going to show you one more thing on the bench. Hopefully you don't lose my head in the video. Let's see here. Let's go. So same thing. You can do this on the bench as well. You can also do it on a box. If you have a box, just I would put a pad on it on the box. So loop it around those laces. Stand up nice and tall. Oh, good, you didn't lose my head, I don't think. Stand up nice and tall. So now I've got my flexion in the knee, and then I can branch out. We need to hold the wall. You can hold the wall. And bend it forward. A little more strength at this other leg here gets brought in. You can play with this here. Okay, so that's it's a little less intense. It does require a little more balance to do it that way and a little more standing leg strength on that opposite leg, but it is a little less intensity on the leg that you're stretching. So it's totally up to you how you want to do it. Sometimes we don't always have the opportunity to get on the ground. Ground might be dirty, it might not be a good area, but you do have something you can elevate your leg. So that is an excellent variation of the couch stretch or quad stretch, hip flexor stretch that you can do at home. Remember, the more consistent you are with your stretching, this goes for everything in life, right? But from a strictly exercise standpoint or movement standpoint, the more you stretch, the more consistent, I'm not saying all day, every day, If you do little bits every single day, I'm talking maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes tops, right? Like, it's not a lot of time to ask. You can do it while you're surfing the web. Although, with that being said, my biggest pet peeve are those who don't pay attention when they do it. So if you are going to use your time to surf Facebook and stretch, still make sure you're aware of what's happening in your body. That's all I'm going to say about that, because I already said a lot. So hopefully you guys, hopefully this was something new that you saw. Hopefully you got a lot out of it. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you for those of you who are still with me. Thank you for hanging on. Hopefully that wasn't too long, and hopefully you understood. So anyways, make it a great day, great week. Enjoy the sunshine. Those of you who are in Central Oregon, because it's supposed to be a beautiful week. Those of you in other parts of the country or states, enjoy whatever the weather is bringing you. See you guys soon.